Good evening, Merrimack. Today is February 23rd, 2023. This is a meeting of the Merrimack Village District Board of Commissioners.
That's me.
Public participation tonight is offered by webinar. You can join the webinar by going to the MVD website, mvdwater.org, and downloading the agenda for tonight's meeting. There's a Zoom link on that agenda. Or you can call 646-876-9923 and enter the webinar ID 869-0319-0768. As a courtesy, Merrimack TV is also recording the meeting, which will be posted on their website at a later date and typically runs on channel 20, cable channel 20. So at this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:05 p.m. and ask everybody to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll do a roll call. We got here in the MVD office, myself, Don Preventure, Wolf Vonch on my right. And joining us on Zoom are two commissioners, Ken Ayers and John Lyons. And I can ask Ken and John. Ken, if you want to go first, just tell us where you're zooming in from, please.
I'm zooming in from my home on Jake's Lane in Merrimack.
Thank you. And John, where are you zooming in from?
Hey, I've got an emergency here, guys. I need to step away for a little bit.
Okay, that's fine, John. Sorry. Okay, so
10 minutes football.
10, okay. So we've got a quorum here virtually, as well as two of us in the room and one virtually. So we're going to proceed with the meeting. There's Paul McLaughlin is running a little bit late. He should be here in about 10 minutes. So when he gets here, we'll have the full quorum here in the room. Before Michelle is ready, maybe we can start something else first. You want to go with the update, Ron, first, or what else?
Yes.
Anything else we want to do first, or?
I can do the update.
Okay, yeah, why don't you go ahead with that one?
Wells 2 and 9 treatment plant media was delivered February 2nd. We soaked it over the weekend and started forward flow to waste on the 6th. Took samples. We had high arsenic. I spoke with DES. The issue would have been putting it out on the ground. So I did hear back from them, and it was okay to do the 2 bed volumes through the filters like we had normally planned for conditioning the filters. They were fine with that. So we've been doing that right along. Arsenic is coming down. Got results today, and vessel 1 was 2 parts per billion. Vessel 2 is 10 parts, which is the lag to vessel 1.
Right.
Vessel 3 is 2 parts per billion, and vessel 4 is 8 parts per billion. So it's working its way down. I want to say it was like 14 at the high.
So 5 is where we want to be.
5 is where we want to be.
Yeah, or lower than 5.
Lower than 5. With that, we're also, the pH is coming down as well, but we are seeing some iron, but we're not flowing. The 2 bed volumes is about 80,000 gallons of water through the tank, so it's not a lot for flushing. So as soon as we get that bed volume, the arsenic down, we're gonna flush for the iron. Hopefully that comes right out.
So the iron is compliant. It's below the 0.3 secondary limit, I believe. I was speaking with Lynette earlier this week. I think she said it was like
I'm not sure. The last I
1 or something.
last I knew, we had to dilute it because it wouldn't read on our equipment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had some formula. that he was doing.
Yeah.
Move down to do the reading.
They took lab samples for iron and manganese and arsenic today too.
Just hope we don't have the flushing that we needed on well 7 and 8, which was like 75 days, 21 million gallons or something.
I hope not as well.
Yeah,
Other than that, they've been doing training with staff down there on, different components and stuff. The treatment plant.
still only running well 2, right? Because I don't think you
Yes.
still don't have the wires for well 9.
Yep.
Okay. Any update on that from Underwood at all, or probably not, right?
Well, 7 and 8, the VFD that we were waiting on has come in, it's been installed. And they've been it's running, it can run.
Oh, good.
They've been just fine tuning, so there's a little more work to do on that.
That's one of the high lift pumps that's been out since summer,
Yeah,
last summer.
Yep.
Good, that's good to have back.
and cleaning of well 7 is scheduled for early March.
That's good.
That's all I have.
Good. Yeah, I was hoping that was the case, because I think Lynette sent an email around or something, right? That said that we've got PFBA breaking through both vessels at well 7 and 8. So we might want to look at changing that out. Was also talking to her, and she was saying that Evoco is recommending like a caustic treatment on that biofilm we have in that first vessel.
Yes.
But I'm wondering, I don't know if it makes sense to do that treatment on the lead vessel, if we're gonna possibly be changing the media out shortly after that. So, I mean, we did have a policy last month that we voted on, that if PFBA breaks through, or if the first PFAS breaks through, we would want to start making plans to change out the media. Or if it's 8 months. I don't think that's been running longer than 8 months, hasn't it? When did that go? That was like 21, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I think that was like fall of
Should-
21.
Yeah, it's like-
You're right, I don't have the date right now.
So just keep that in mind. I let her know about it, because I don't think she was aware of that policy that we voted on at the January meeting.
Would be good information to have, though, if that caustic treatment is breaking through that film that builds up.
Well, we're probably gonna end up having to do it in the lag vessel, because it's bleeding into the lag vessel, and now the pressures are building up in the lag vessel. So, what I was thinking, and what I was talking to her about, was maybe we change. First of all, I want to definitely clean the well out, because if it's coming from that, we want to start with that. Then change out the lead vessel media and maybe do the caustic treatment on the lag vessel, because that lag vessel is going to become the lead vessel. And then we could see how it works on that. I think it just doesn't seem to me to do all that on the lead vessel, and then a month later, we're going to change the media out, be a waste, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was just curious on, I would imagine that the bacteria growth is taking up some of the place for the PFAS to stick. So my hope is that we can get some added life out of it. I think either way, I think we probably should be killing that off, do that treatment prior. And then even if we do get the new media, then we're not gonna hopefully we won't have that same issue. And if we have to treat, add some chlorine at the wells rather than, introduce that sooner, so we don't get that growth. And then start off fresh with the new media.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna reverse. Like PFBA is breaking through.
Yeah.
FPEA is probably next, because that usually follows within a couple months. I don't think it's gonna reverse it to the point where it's non-detect again. Seems to me it would be you'd be kind of wasting money to do a caustic treatment on that vessel and then end up changing out the media a month or so after that. I don't see that PFBA would go away. I think once it's broken through, it's broken through, you know. I mean, those are things we should probably go over with Lynette.
When that, I'm sure there's gonna be some sort of disinfectant. Whether it's caustic or probably gonna, you know, bleach it just to make sure there's nothing in it if we do the
Yeah.
change out.
So the reason I'm aware of this is because I'm actually doing a conference seminar on March 8th for New England Waterworks up at Pease. DES has a facility up at Pease. And there's going to be about 80 people going, and I'm doing a MVD experience, PFAS treatment tips and lessons learned and stuff. Talking about our 3 PFAS plants. So I've been doing a lot of putting that together in the last 3 weeks. And Lynette and Keith has helped me out on it a little bit. So we were talking about all of this stuff, you know, because these are things I'm going to be talking about, is like things to look out for other water suppliers that we've already dealt with. And all this stuff is pertinent to that. So that's why I was on the phone with her this morning.
What's the cost for caustic treatment?
I can find that.
I don't know that we priced it out.
We haven't priced it out yet.
Yeah.
But
So
I don't even know what the dose would be at this point.
I think we need to know that information to
Right,
make a decision too, right? If it's just whatever, $2,000, it might be worthwhile.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
lesson learned, if it's
Oh, yeah,
20,000 it might not be, right?
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yep.
and you know, the other thing we need to do is to keep track, because we don't know that the wholesale agreement is gonna pass until March meeting.
Mhm.
So I think whatever we need to do out there, the worst case is if the wholesale agreement fails, it needs a 2/3 vote. If that fails, we don't want to be changing out media and taking treatment plants offline in the middle of, or even the beginning of the peak irrigation season.
right.
Because we never know, like we stuck with another 2 months of flushing. And we don't want to lose, you know what I mean? We can't do that.
Yep.
We'd be buying retail water from Pennachuck for those
Well,
2 months or something.
So we talking brand new media or just a
Yeah, that's a good question too, because
because what I did for well 4 and 5, so we wouldn't have the iron issue. I went with the acid wash media
the makeup stuff.
for the makeup.
Yeah. So I guess I would like to also know if we do rejuvenate the GAC in that first vessel, which is what we were planning on. Will that kill whatever else is in there as far as the biofilm? And I don't know if there's any residual iron that's stuck in there. I don't know that the biofilm, I'm not convinced it's not coming from the original carbon with the iron. If it was loaded with iron, there's iron bacteria in there. That was tested. I think it was found that exists. So I'm not positive it's coming from our wells. It wasn't present after the green sand vessels.
Right.
So it's kind of funny that it's in the iron. I mean, in the GAC. So I don't know if that would wipe out whatever the rejuvenation process. I know they put it in a thermal oxidizer and burn it off. So that I would think that would kill bacteria.
I would think so.
I don't know
I think so.
if whatever the matter was left there, is it all stuck in the media? I don't know if Avoca would even know how to answer that or really.
Well, the iron wouldn't be burning off, right? If there's any iron in the media, it wouldn't be burning
No.
off, so.
I don't think we're having that
It
issue.
should have been flushed
That's
out, I
all
think,
flushed
right?
out. So we're not having that issue, but it's just the bacterial.
Yeah. So let's try to find that out from Underwood, if what the cost of the caustic is. And then if we do the rejuvenation on the carbon. Do they,
I mean, we can figure that out. We just need to know what the dose is. And then,
yeah,
we pay for caustic, we can figure that out.
oh, all right, so we would just be doing that with our own
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
chemical.
mean, they'll.
Okay.
Underwood would be present, I guess,
Yeah.
just for the information and all of that. But yeah,
Okay,
for the most part, we're gonna be doing the work.
all right, that's good.
It might be also worthwhile to introduce a new media batch from another supplier,
I know.
just to benchmark the Evoqua stuff. So at the earliest opportunity of an immediate change out, I would consider that as well. What I don't know is then any of the media that we are sending out for rejuvenation, it has to be stored then, right, somewhere for the time that we're using that new batch. So I'm not sure how that works.
Well, if we're regenerating, they'll actually ship us back when it's been burned.
Right,
They add it in the truck, so it would be probably less. You know, the blend wouldn't be blended through, you know, right? We could add it after, I guess, with a Calgon or something like that.
right, but I wouldn't want to mix a rejuvenated batch with a new batch, right? It should be one vessel with a new batch only, so we're not introducing any contaminants that comes from the Evoqua stuff.
That void warranty,
What's that?
that void warranty.
I think the warranty's over anyway, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only
Yeah.
for the first
So
vessels full.
it might be at another well too, right? But I think sooner or later we should start testing out other stuff so we have leverage and we have alternatives if there's supply chain issues.
So
Issues.
I'll work on some pricing as well
Yeah.
we're talking a full media replacement.
Yeah.
That, I want to say with the bulk oil, I want to say it was like about $3 per
Pound or.
pound or something like
Oh, I
that.
think it was that.
Well, and we have to factor in,
But
we have to factor in all the money, all the costs for the water that we wasted to flush the iron out too, right? I mean, there was a boatload of water that we just sent right down the drain, right? So,
21 million gallons.
I mean, that was a chunk of money too,
Oh,
so.
no, absolutely, but we potentially, if you're getting new media, you have that issue again with a different media.
We didn't in the past though. For 4 and 5, we didn't have that,
No, I agree. It seems like
Right.
we've had different issues in each.
right,
I think that was the only one that wasn't an issue. It
right.
seems like we had a
Exactly.
little bit of an arsenic issue at 2 and 9, and then we definitely had a major issue at 7 and 8. I kind of was talking to Lynette a little bit about it too, about how you doing, Paul?
How you doing, guys? Sorry about my
That's
timing.
fine. Good. Glad you made it. Let Paul, record show Paul arrived at 5:20. We were just talking about the carbon vessels and media change out and things. But going forward, I don't know if there's a way we can, before they even deliver, or I'd like to be able to take whatever they're delivering to us, run our own tests on it, see if it's full of iron or not, see if it's got, because it's like they deliver to us, even if they give us a little side bucket like they did at wells 2 and 9, once it's in the vessel, it's ours. And then we test the bucket and find out it's got stuff in it that's gonna be a problem. It's too late at
We
that
can
point,
reject it,
you know?
So we did request 5-gallon buckets of each.
Each truck, right?
Each truck. So we have that on hand for 2 and 9.
Yeah.
And we can do the same going forward with any kind of a change out. We can do that as well.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's still too late. We need to know before we put it in the vessels if it's a problem. It's too late. If we gotta know it before it gets to the vessels, and I don't know how to do that, but
Well, you're trying to tell me these companies with how much money they're not running any kind of QC, quality assurance, not like, they're looking for this, if it's the problem.
apparently not. They never even tested for iron, or they never tested for heterotrophic plate count, which is like this biobacteria thing. They test for like iodine number and all these other things. I was just talking to Lynette about it this morning. And I said, how can it even be NSF 61 compliant if it doesn't even meet drinking water?
That's what I don't understand.
She says
Why they're selling this.
technically, they don't have to meet NSF 61 until after it's flushed. That's what she
But
said.
as soon as as soon as it's in our tanks, it's ours.
I guess so.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's why I'm saying we should get a sample of what's gonna be delivered before we put it in our vessel. So we can at least run our own tests on it somehow.
Until after it's flushed.
Yeah,
How
the
long, how
NSF,
long did we have to flush?
So I would,
That's
in the interest of,
75 days.
that's what I'm saying. That doesn't make any sense.
right, so in the interest of the role of the board and the role of the staff, right?
Yeah,
maybe what we should be doing is we should ask staff to get with the staff, we get with our engineers and get with the
Right.
suppliers and saying, listen, this doesn't work for us.
Right.
We have to figure out something else.
Right,
Please. Underwood, Evoqua, or some other supplier.
Yeah.
Management,
right,
think about this and make a proposal how we can do this better next time.
right. I
'Cause
think,
I'm-
I think we're getting those
Not to take
parameters,
anything off
Yeah,
off
no,
of your plate, but.
we're getting those parameters out there so that now they can have
Right.
something to talk about.
Right, I mean, it's not acceptable, obviously, from a customer standpoint to spend, how much did we spend on how many million, 2.1 gallons of water?
It was millions of gallons. of water.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean,
21 millions, flush 7 and
right,
8.
right, so I mean, that cost is not to us, period, right? And we have to have better control of that change out process in the future, and that's the task for the engineers and for the supplier and for management, right?
Right.
And now, the supplier may play, the innocence card because they're possibly not required to be compliant at that point yet, right? But we can still say that doesn't work for us and we look for another supplier, right? And we scrap that media that gave us such a hard time, even though that's a loss for us, right? Because it's now flushed and it's rejuvenated. Maybe we use it one more time until it's laden with PFAS and then we scrap it, right? And then we buy a new batch from another supplier and see if Evoqua is the right partner for us or not, right? I mean, we've been having a lot of pain with the supplier now for the last 2 years. And I just frankly about had it up here, right? So maybe we just have to ask our engineers and our supplier base what our options are and see what they come up with.
Yeah,
But that's the reason I went with the acid
Yeah,
wash
right.
good move.
for 4 and 5.
Yeah.
yeah.
Supposedly, we didn't have the issue again at 4 and 5. We had a brief breakthrough of some iron, but it flushed out fairly quickly.
Yeah.
It was nothing like 7 and 8, but
So I would suggest we make that a task on the task list, that you guys are discussing that with the engineers and.
So call that like quality assurance control of whatever the,
Replacement medium.
yeah. So at this point, I think all our vessels are filled with the Evoqua media
Mhm.
that's in there, so. We're hopefully gonna be I don't know how many times you can rejuvenate it before it just,
well, you.
at some
Something
point,
can keep rejuvenating because there is a loss each time you rejuvenate.
yeah,
And then you have that makeup. So eventually you're gonna get to that point where it's been.
oh, yeah.
replaced. It'll be turned over, so.
So maybe we start looking at a different vendor for the makeup.
Mm.
All right. All right, I think you understand the,
No, absolutely. It's all stuff I've been thinking of.
yeah. Okay,
So I have one more question on that. 2 years ago, we ran into a real pickle in spring because of the delay in the well cleaning. And I think it was just about the same. I think they were supposed to start in February, not in March, like you just said.
No,
But they-
we've been starting late. It's usually April, the day
Okay.
we ask for the cleaning.
But how do we ensure, because back then I think the delay was that either they didn't start on time because they were stuck on another job or something, or they faced some unexpected situation and took longer than expected. But how do we avoid having that a repetition of that incident? Because it really cost us some grief.
We're trying to start earlier this year.
We are. Okay.
But again, and I was talking with Brian about it, my fear is you start too early because we start losing that screen does starts getting dirty fairly quick, so you start losing the volume, the drawdown.
well screen, you mean?
Yeah, as you progress through so if we go too early.
You won't make it through the aisle.
Exactly. Exactly, so I think March will be all right. I don't think it'll affect us that much, but it's getting, I mean, it sounded like when I talked with Brian about it, it sounded like Barry was good but you never know when there's an emergency comes up, and he treats us the same way, so it's kind of, if we had an emergency at one of our wells and he was off somewhere else, he would make the time to come out as well, so.
And he's the only supplier that does that service?
No, there's others.
Okay, so if something real bad was to happen, we could look for alternatives.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do think we should probably start coordinating for the vessel change out at 7 and 8 though, because I mean, I can already see it happening you know, by the time we're gonna want to change it out, okay, trucks coming June 1st. You know,
Just like a bridge on-
Yeah, I'll start looking into
I think
that
we-
as well.
I mean, we did vote on that at the last meeting that,
Yep.
you know,
Once we get to a certain.
it's been longer than 8 months for sure. It's into the finished water now. It's well past the lead vessel, so.
Running out of time. We still have to do at least the warrant articles.
All right, we're good to move on. We're gonna do the financials with Michelle Holton, Human Resources. So if you have anything to clue us in on that we should be aware of, that would be good.
Sure. Being through the month of January, we're 50% complete with the fiscal year. All of our main water revenue accounts were all coming in up 60% of budget, resulting in an overall revenue at 69% of budget. One notable income account that we've mentioned is the interest income, and that was through the increases through negotiations with TD Bank.
Very nice.
And service charge. The 40408 mainline extension and 40413 entrance fees, we have some new communities finally coming online, so they're paying their mainline addition and their entrance fees. On the expense side of things, we're coming in at 53% of budget. And the notes and the circumstances related to all these expenses above budget are on the budget versus actual comparison, which we'll look at next. And we continue to see that account 60000 electricity and 60400 heating fuel, as well as 60600 chemicals are all running lower than budget because of our arrangement with Penachuk. So the net ordinary income to date for this year is 781,000. Last year was 695,000 for an $86,000 increase against prior year. It also should be noted that we did have the 11% increase October 1st, 2022. Does anyone have any questions on the summary numbers?
Everybody good? Great.
I'm good here.
You good, Ken?
Yes, I am. Sorry. Slow hitting the button.
I wasn't sure what you said. That's why I'm asking.
The revenue actual versus budget, we've notated things that are highly over budget in their explanation. Some of them are small value items or things that we wouldn't know the timing of, such as the entrance fees and means that we mentioned. The 40200 water sales for mercantile, that's coming in at almost 96%. So this coming month, Amy, Kristen, and I are going to try to research that to see if it's been some reclasses that have been done, or if it's just something that coming back after the pandemic, that sales in those areas are at that level. So we'll be looking at that. Does anyone have any question on any particular revenue line items?
No.
Well, good.
No?
All good.
And good.
Yep.
And on the expense comparisons. There are two items I just wanted, one didn't print properly and there was just one addition. 60460 diesel fuel. We had an instance with a power outage and we're having to run generators for an excessive amount of time. So that's where we're seeing the diesel fuel coming in at 69%. And then the explanation.
So that's lumped in with the vehicle diesel fuel too, right? Yeah, okay.
And then the third page, account 90204. It's the existing drinking water, groundwater trust loan principal. One of the lines cut off. So the payoff of the water treatment plants 2 and 9, 7 and 8, there's $176,000 that we're actually going to have to pay by the end of this fiscal year in order to do what we're calling the refi into the PFAS remediation fund for loans and grants. So we'll be doing that in June, as well as dependent on some things that happen at the meeting in March. We'll be determining what we'll be doing with the Penachuk funds. We have them below the line right now. We had intention to see where we fell at year end with that ordinary income. But with some changes such as 176,000, and also planning for the potential agreement where we might want to go to the non-capital reserve for that next year. We're going to see how the votes come out and then determine what we'll be doing there. So next month, we should have a better idea there. Are there any particular line items or the expense side that anyone have questions on?
I have 2 or 3,
Sure.
and you probably explained that before, but I'm pulling a blank. Account 50103 has an increase of 108,000. I'm sorry, of 108% over the last 2 years.
Oh, the position needs to be split.
Right, that's what it
with
was.
Water quality.
That's what it was.
With,
Okay.
yeah, which
Yeah,
was.
okay.
And with field salaries. So now it's all under administrative.
I thought so. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
and I'll actually add that as a note just in case. Anyone forgets it.
Well, not everybody's as forgetful as I am. The other one is 70750 R&M watershed has a 247% increase. 70750.
Yes, that's coming from EDGI for the source water protection. And I believe, well, there's.
Is that engineering? Is that engineering cost or?
I just applied for disbursement request, $25,000 back to us.
Okay, okay. And then the 80125 shipping freight fuel charge has a 590% increase. What did I say? 80125.
Shipping.
Yeah.
In
Shipping,
the past, we've very rarely been charged shipping, but more and more with everything that's going on in the world, as far as supply chain, we've repeatedly seen people adding on shipping charges
Mm.
along with their regular increases on the products.
Mhm,
Also doing what they're calling temporary surcharges.
mhm.
So it may get lower again, but I'm not going to try to get second or side.
Good one.
I see that on.
Last at home.
I see a lot of fuel surcharges on,
Yeah, I see that too. I'm just surprised, but I would have expected like maybe 200 or 300%, but not 590% increase, but okay.
Any other questions on the expense line items?
Nope.
Anna, are you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay,
all right.
we already looked at the overview to prior year. If we actually do look at actual versus budget, page 4, just so we have an idea of where we're currently at. Below the line, so below the net ordinary income line, at the end, you can see 92055. We've titled that capital reserve funds non-budget expense. And that is the purchase of Penachuk water above what we had budgeted. So that'll be the line item that, once we have some answers from annual meetings, we'll be determining where we'll pay that out.
Mhm.
So for prior comparison, any detailed questions or the month by month for the year?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. And you'll note that our bank balances 10170 came down quite a bit. And that's due to we're switching over to the PFAS remediation fund.
Right.
So we just have some timing issues as far as submissions for reimbursement, cutting off the old 2 loans, making our payment and getting that reimbursement done. But we're fortunate enough that we do have cash flow to cover us in the interim. And also account 10102, that's 4 and 5. We had some stragglers for payment that was taken care of. We got a bit of money, the last bit of money, and then paid some invoices in December. So we're going to be doing the breakdown. There's some money that needs to go back to ops. There's some money. There was some interest money paid in here initially. So we've got to do a full breakdown, both for our records and for audit this year, just so they'll know where we stand with that. And we'll change over to the 106.9 that we get each year for O&M for 4 and 5. That can then start going into our operating because it has a separate line item. And then we track the expenses by class for a water treatment plant. So we can still get to the detail that belongs just to 4 and 5. Any questions on any other bank accounts?
I'm good.
I'm good on my end.
Okay,
All right.
all right, so that's where we stand at the moment.
Hey. All right, so if there's nothing else, then we can move on. We can do the discussion and assign the warrant articles for public hearing. Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. All right, so we have the warrant articles in front of us. So I think, what are we gonna just assign? Who wants to read these, basically? Is that what we're doing here at this point?
So you're talking at the public hearing?
Yeah. Well, I think both, right?
Public hearing and annual meeting.
Assign warrant articles for public hearing to follow, which is now today. And the March 28th annual meeting, along with the budget memo.
Isn't at the annual meeting, isn't that doesn't the gentleman or that
Yeah, the moderator.
moderator, thank you, yes, I was trying to figure the word.
Well, he is a gentleman, so that's good.
He was supposed to be reading the warrant articles, and then one of the commissioners was supposed to be reading the explanation, but I think he read
Right.
it all.
He read it all, yeah.
Right.
Which doesn't matter to me. I mean, he might as well do that again. It's not like he's usually busy throughout the year.
Right.
So, I mean, it probably keeps the meeting a little bit smoother instead of jumping back and forth to 5 different people and having confusion. So I wouldn't be opposed to him reading that.
It's just that if somebody's got questions, who they direct it to, just.
The board. The board and legal and finance and management.
I mean, that's what we did last year as well, no matter who read the question, if somebody had a question.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole board would jump.
Just last year was accidental that he read it all,
Yes.
which, but I mean, we could make that the agenda for my standpoint.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't have a burning desire to have to.
And I suggest that we have Ron and Jill read tonight's once.
Thanks, Gavin.
Yeah, maybe we can let Mark Nozell, he's the moderator still, right? I don't. Is his term up this it's not, okay. Yeah, so if maybe just let him know that at certain time before the March meeting that he can read the articles and the description, and if we have individual questions, then probably either Michelle or Carrie or whoever's around. There is some kind of technical stuff going on with the articles if one fails and something else goes away and all that, so it might be a little complicated. It probably would be for me, so maybe if, I'm assuming Carrie's gonna be there and probably Keith from Underwood and all that stuff too. Cause I know the wholesale agreement, Keith's got a pretty good handle on that with Penachuk. So maybe that would,
I'm just leaning back on if we assign each article or an article to a board member. And if somebody has a question, they'll, they would direct it to the board member. And then we can actually have it written out that if something could, one of you can't answer, then it either goes to myself, it goes to Michelle or to Carrie. Might make it go smoother. That would be my only thought.
yeah, although I don't know if the ones who are gonna discuss it are even here tonight.
I would probably turn this around and say a good amount of these warrant articles are better answered by, for example, Keith and Carrie than a board member in the first place.
I kind of feel the
So
same.
for example, Article 4 to me would be well answered by Keith. He would be very well prepared to answer that one, right? That's the one for the purchase and sale agreement with Penachuk Water, right?
I think even Michelle on some of the budget items.
Right, exactly, right. So, I mean, Article 6 might be one of those that the commissioners could, I mean, we all could speak to all of them really, frankly, but.
If somebody comes up to a microphone, has a question, you direct them to. Michelle, you want to take this?
Yeah, I think that probably would be a good way to do
Yeah.
it. And you're welcome to direct it to one of us too, if you think we're well spoken to it,
Yeah,
prepared spoken to.
all right, that makes sense,
We don't have a moderator tonight.
right? So if we have some public that asks questions, we'll just have to, well, Keith's gonna be on and Michelle will be here.
Yeah.
We'll figure out who's gonna answer.
I mean, we can assign them for today unless
Yeah.
you have, after all, a burning desire to just read them all.
I can read them all. Yeah.
I
don't
think it
mind
would be
doing that.
smoother, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, why don't we just do that? I can read them all in the descriptions. And then if there is anybody here that has questions, then we'll figure out, depending on which article it is, who's probably best suited to answer. I think that's probably a good way to do it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Not sorry.
I don't mind reading that. I don't mind reading them.
If you're okay with it, I'm not,
Yeah. Answering questions. Reading them is easy. Anybody can read. All right, so then we don't need to really bother going through these right now, right? We're gonna be
I don't think so, yeah.
just doing this all over at 7 at the public hearing. Which is here tonight. For anybody watching. So, okay, this budget memo that follows the actual warrant articles. This is gonna be a handout, I assume, at the annual meeting. Are we planning on presenting any of this, or is this just going to be if there are questions that come up?
Hopefully it'll answer any questions. Or if somebody has a question, they get their answer.
All right. So this is all kind of
Questions too.
right. So this is all exclusively related to the budget, because it's the budget memo, so there's a lot of information in here. I wouldn't think we'd want to read this into the record or anything like that.
I don't think we have to, because this is on the public record, but I would like to state to staff that I really like how this is being presented, especially that note.
I agree.
Yeah,
You already did that in the last meeting, and I think this makes it even clearer for whoever is not involved in all of this over the last couple of years. The fact that you point out that the actual increase for the comparable budget would only be 6.26% over last year, and that this is 2% lower than the national inflation rate. That's, I think, a very fair statement to make. And then to point out that the actual rest of the increase, which is like what, 27%, if I read this right? Actually 25%, right? That the rest of that increase is really due to the PFAS remediation period, right? I think that's important to line that out and to point that out, and I think you guys did awesome with that.
I give credit to Chris, especially who tweaking it this night and he formatted it so it flows better.
Nice.
The acronym.
And I know that started with the budget workshop.
Yeah, yeah.
and She had those numbers
Yeah.
set aside,
Right,
So the one-time crazy expenses, increase in expenses and chemicals. If it wasn't for that, here's what the increase would be, and that's a lot more reasonable expected
it's just,
without that increase. Yeah.
it's just a token of taking real ownership of this, and really realizing that there's a need to point that out and to clarify that, and that's just commendable, so.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. All right. Anybody have any other comments or questions?
I'm good.
Got the budget summary in here with all the individual breakdowns. Again, that's just for presentation at the annual meeting. So these are gonna be like handouts that you grab on the way into the annual meeting that are available to the public. All right, good. All right, so if we're good with that, I guess we can move on to the minutes. Everybody good with everything so far?
Yeah.
All right.
Done good.
Okay. All right, so the first minutes we've got November 21st, 2022. And that's who was that? Myself, Ken, and John. Well, we can.
Yeah,
Just saying, because I know we go over this the town does approve them. It's
Right.
more of a courtesy if you were not there. It's not.
Well, I mean, how long have we kicked the
Regulation.
can?
That's what I'm saying. 'Cause this is from November.
let's do it.
Yeah,
I'll vote on
I
it.
think,
I'll
you
vote
know,
away.
all right.
I'm cool. I mean, I think John wouldn't have any corrections anyway, so.
Probably not. You're right. All right, so Wolf is moving the November
Did I?
21st.
Yeah, I do.
Did you?
Yeah, I move. I so move. I move to approve the minutes from November 21st as 2022 as posted. Or as drafted.
Okay. do we have a
Seconded.
Second by Ken. And he was here, so that's good.
In fact, I'm sorry, I'm gonna change my motion. And include the December 19 and January 31st minutes as well.
That's fine. We want to do them all together. I'm okay with
You
that.
guys okay with that?
I second that.
Thank you for doing that.
Anybody have any comments or corrections to offer on any of these minutes from November 21st, December 19th, and January 31st?
Nope.
Seeing no comments, then we can all signify by, if we're in favor of approving these minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
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 And Ken, for the record, you said aye, right?
Correct.
All right, so that was your roll call. So that is approved. All 3 minutes are approved 4-0-0. No opposition, no abstention. Great. Moving right along. Okay. Next is the plan review policy, second reading. Up here. I think last time we gave Ron a directive to put a couple of these things together that we were kicking around. Yeah,
Yes, so I.
Like you
did
got 'em in there?
incorporate Your change, the suggestion into this.
right.
So this is the second reading, but the first one of the changed policy. Do we need a third reading? Because I don't think we've seen the changes, right?
I mean, redlined or something?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if, the readings need to be of the same version of the policy or not.
So the policy was to have 2 readings to make sure that it went in front of the board twice for any revisions.
Mhm.
It is becoming policy, so we want like 2 sets of eyes on it. 2 readings of it.
So I did have some additional ideas on this that I would just run by. I don't know if you guys want to bother or not. To try to really pin down the irrigation issue, because I think that's where the sticking point is on this thing. And let me know if you think it's not a good idea or it might be a good idea, but let's see here. How many bullets we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Actually, 12. Yeah, it starts on the other page. So I was just looking on the second page. On the second page, as I see this, it might be good to number them possibly too, because then we might be able to refer to them by number instead of just the dot bullets. But the one, let's see, on the second page, 1, 2, 3, the third bullet, if irrigation demands are not supplied for review, irrigation is not to be allowed in excess of the design average domestic demands. I was just wondering how that could be like memorialized somehow. It's probably, is it too much to request that gets put in and recorded at the registry of deeds or something? I don't know. I do know, I do some work in Massachusetts, and when they have like restrictions, sometimes they do make it so that it needs to be recorded somewhere where it can be found and when the property transfers ownership. Because I'm just afraid this is going to kind of get lost.
Can you record it on the plan as a requirement?
Well, that's the other thing I was wondering is could it be also put on the planning board or on the plan that gets approved by the planning board?
I believe it does.
And
I believe it is on the, I believe it's in the note section of each set of Mylars that we sign.
that says if there's irrigation allowed or not?
It points to what MVD has approved and the amount that they've.
All right,
approved. It does
okay,
not
I see what you're
specifically
saying.
call out irrigation. But if we're looking at this, you're pretty much saying, if you don't specifically ask for irrigation, then you're only allowed to use what you've been approved for, and if you want to full irrigation in there.
So what do we issue? We issue a letter that says,
Issue some sort of a
the letter of the planning
availability
board.
letter, or I do a portion of the engineering report.
It says right here. It says right here, when the review is completed and accepted by the district, a water availability letter will be supplied.
Okay,
But I mean,
Does that get folded into building and building and development's department, like the whole file of the plan
Yes,
with the Mylars and everything goes in that one file?
I could find that out. I believe it does. I think it goes into the file because it's what the
I mean, I would assume so.
planning board is looking for
Yes.
and what, what we're expecting of that applicant.
well, the issue we have with this is, let's say I'm a guy that walks up and buys a home that was built 10 years ago, right? The original builder went through that process, right? And then homeowner or developer, whoever, went through that process and got the letter of availability, right? But now I'm ordering a local water irrigation, lawn irrigation company to put in an irrigation system.
and you're saying where they
I don't-
previously came and said they weren't gonna have irrigation?
Correct. I don't think you need a permit to install an irrigation system.
I don't
So the
believe-
town would never know,
Right.
right? And the contractor would never know that MVD had originally said or would only attested this much water to be used.
Right.
So we can do that, but it's not gonna buy us anything.
Yeah.
No, but at least there would be least it would be on file somewhere.
Right, yeah.
I think it's more of like the larger commercial developments, I think.
That scenario as well, I'm trying to, for a subdivision
Right.
plans, I don't think actually break down
Each
lot.
lot, no, they do not. It's
I don't.
the division.
So they'll come in and request an allocation for the whole subdivision and they'll base it on going forward, what is it, the 145 gallons per unit or whatever it was, or
Right.
bedroom? Is it bedroom? Oh, unit? Just read it. Whatever the hell it is.
I mean,
But if they don't include irrigation in that, less than like you're saying, all of those lots should not be allowed to put irrigation in.
on the other hand, if that's a 30 lot development. Over the next 15, 20 years, 3 homeowners come up with the idea of put irrigation, that's not gonna kill us either.
No,
right?
no.
So that's not the issue. The problem is if the developer puts in 30 irrigation systems, right, one for each property right there and then we have a problem.
So I
If
almost
they
would
do,
think,
though, I would be hard pressed to see that they're not gonna supply an irrigation request.
Right, no, they have to.
Yeah,
they
that's
have
what
to,
I'm saying.
have to.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, it would require that us, we basically would have to go out and police that once they put the properties up, right? Which we
I mean-
don't really do, right?
That goes for everything. I mean, the planning board has 3 staff members, 4 staff members.
I know, we
Send them out in
don't- yeah.
cars every day, making sure that people aren't
And it-
operating bit like.
What the town does, right?
and it doesn't affect them, it affects MVD, so they don't
I don't
care.
want to say no. If you report something, yes, the town go out and check it out. But like. People want to complain about taxes or how much we charge for water, like, can't afford to have people driving around in trucks and cars, just looking at properties. It's not how this works.
So we talked about that before. Is our software getting coded with those values?
That's a good question. So wouldn't we be able to see an abnormally large
Right.
full?
Because I do know that you guys are monitoring water consumption, right? Because that's how you make people aware of leakages and stuff like that, right? So
Is there a way to code that in so we
Right.
can get a
we almost would have to
notification?
reference that back into the system for those properties. Even if it's, divided by, proportional to how many properties are in that request, right?
So have it do like policing it through that
Right.
process
Yeah.
instead of
There would have to be a way to.
how complicated that might be though.
I mean,
Well, that would probably be the way to do it, really. Because you're approving it, you're putting it on the account, whichever, I don't know when you create the account still, right, for these properties. Are you creating that when it's being permitted or?
yeah, basically when they're,
Would that be, I mean, like. There has to be a way to do it with the billing software, especially since they touted having so many. Like add-ons, if we do months of billing, that has to be a thing that.
But it's a timing issue. This would have to happen the moment this is being issued. Otherwise, this is gonna be
Correct.
forgotten, not to criticize anybody. I would forget it too.
well, it's not, it wouldn't be added. So then the account's created when they actually come in and they've got their C of O and they. There's an owner of the house,
Right.
that's when that account would get created.
And that may need to be reconsidered if that's the right time. Maybe the account needs to be created when this is being issued, right? I mean, it's just an idea in the end.
It's issued for the developer. Not
For the old.
right,
So they don't get a CFO until they have this. The town will not give them one until
Yeah.
MVD gives a approval.
but again, for the development. It would go to the developer to build.
Correct.
I mean, you can also argue this just goes on file and once the owner signs up for an account and you guys create the account, it has to reference back to this and you basically have to track how much of that you have allocated to each individual lot already. Right? Which is fine. I mean, it's a procedural solution. And again, we're probably shooting over the top here because in the end, if the developer doesn't request this and doesn't put it on the property, on each property as a default, and then over the years, a few of those owners are adding irrigation. That's not what we're concerned about, right? We're concerned about everybody doing it or a large portion of the owners doing.
I mean, we haven't been getting many of those types of developments, but the few that we have gotten, have they been bringing irrigation to you guys? Because I know just through the planning board, we do not get a lot of subdivision type of plans. It's usually businesses, apartment buildings, stuff like that.
There's a few out there and they'll probably all have irrigation. And I'd have to look back to see if that was factored in or not, if they were accounting for that when we looked at that project.
Right.
I don't think
They
that,
let them straggle.
I don't think builders by default add irrigation to their plans. At least,
Probably not.
not in the property or in the developments that I'm aware of.
If their system development fee is based on consumption, they're gonna make that consumption number as low as possible.
Right,
They're
exactly.
not gonna add irrigation.
Right.
I guarantee you that.
Well, then that just makes another reason why we should track it.
I'm all,
They're gonna make it as low as possible by.
right.
I still think that basically at the time that the account for the owner is being created, the initial account for a property, you almost have to go back to this.
You can go back to the approved subdivision and see if
Right.
they allowed,
Right.
it would have to be something we'd have to track on our end.
Yeah.
When they come
I
in,
believe that Amy can start a,
we can like,
she's starting the accounts for every address, but there could be a note for that development that, you know,
the irrigation was specifically excluded.
right.
Yeah,
That can be tracked because there's location ID, it's permanent, and then there's customer ID. So that would stay with location.
There you go.
And I almost want to say she started
They're
that.
saying if you can do
They
this,
start on location and that turns to account.
this expensive software should be able to do it.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, and I told you I'm gonna do this a lot more in the future. I think this is another one where I think we have expressed ideas and concerns. You guys know the software better than anybody. You know your process better than anybody. When you can action item, come back and suggest what you think works.
I like that idea. If you already have a field set up in our software that has location ID.
Yep.
And all you would need to do is put a note in there that says irrigation excluded or not allowed in subdivision or something like that.
Yeah.
Or at least the total gallon.
But then at that point, you're only letting that customer know. You might still go around and put irrigation in and no one's gonna catch it, but
Well, no, that would, then we could.
then you
put
can
it on
in your
our,
water use, yeah. And if you see a bunch of water and we go to monthly billing, that'll help. If we see all kinds of usage goes up 3-4 times higher in June, July, August, we'll say, hey, something's going on.
so we do generate lists when the need is there to go out and police. Of, you know, people that run wells and that kind of stuff. If there's a development that's not supposed to have irrigation, that could hit that list as well, and if we were to drive through.
Yeah.
and there's water going on, it can be stopped, so.
All right, so does that sound like it's addresses the issue that we're kicking around here? I kind of think it does. And then
I want to see something in here.
I would like to see something in there, yeah. Sorry.
it's all right. You know, if we're gonna revise this thing, we're gonna get it right,
Yeah.
get it.
No, absolutely, I just,
Not that it's wrong, but
we were going, I didn't know if it was a software thing for tracking or if it
Right.
needs to be in here. Addressing that there should be some tracking that's being done.
I think it would be cleaner to do that, yeah.
It's fine.
okay, and then so the only other thing I was wondering is if irrigation is proposed. When the allocation request comes in. Maybe we should have a bullet in here that says. If irrigation is proposed in the allocation request. There should be a plan that delineates. Or how about this, maybe have like. The square footage. Indicated on how much square footage is going to be irrigated. And that irrigation demand needs to be based on a minimum of 1 inch per week. Of irrigation. Because that's the
Maximum.
minimum that you're really gonna. I wouldn't want someone to come in and say, I got this massive, project and we're only gonna irrigate, 2,000 gallons a day when an inch a week over the landscaped area can really add up. I think it's like 1,000 gallons a day for 10,000 square feet of lawn. If you look at it. I've run those numbers before. So I wouldn't want someone to come in and say, oh yeah, we're gonna irrigate, 5 acres and so we're adding an extra 2,000 gallons a day in there. The math doesn't work, because you'd be putting down like 1/8 of an inch a week, which you should be putting down 1/8 of an inch every time you irrigate every day, other day.
Not every day. No.
Not every day. So I'm just wondering if what I just read, if irrigation is proposed in the allocation request, the proponent should specify the square feet of area to be irrigated and the allocation based on a minimum of 1 inch per week. Because that's the number that everybody uses. All the irrigation guys will tell you 1 inch per week is what the minimum you need. Really. And I know even growing season is higher than that. But I don't know if it's too complicated or not.
I don't like the term minimum because that leaves room for irrigate away, right? So.
No, I'm just saying their allocation request should have that
Right.
number in there. So that would prevent them from.
I just wouldn't use the term minimum nor maximum. I would say this is what it's
Based on an inch.
Right.
Well, if they want to come in and say, we want, or all right, so you're fixing them to say we don't want you to put more than 1 inch a week, basically.
Yeah,
Okay,
we could, I mean, that's the whole
Which
point of this, right?
yeah, right.
So,
So that's what I was kind of thinking. It might be easier to have like a formula in there.
Right.
That applies to everybody.
Yep.
You can.
So much green space by way.
Exactly, so we can take,
Yep.
So what I'm thinking is good to know the square feet of irrigation area is, if they say there's like, we're gonna irrigate 10,000 square feet. And they're using a ton of water in the summer, we can tell by their bills, and we go out there and we see the irrigation heads are like a football field. That's more than 10,000 square feet. So if we have a number somewhere in a letter,
right, exactly.
we can say, wait a minute,
Yeah,
you said here you're only gonna be doing
right.
10,000 square feet, and you're doing
Yep.
a whole acre. Pay us the difference or
Good idea.
something, you know what I mean?
Yep.
We can go this, you and I together on this offline. If you want to work out the actual wording, I can actually send you an email of what I just read to you, so. If that's helpful to put
that
it
would
in
be
here.
helpful.
Yeah, I think
I
it would.
didn't put it up down, but I was.
Yeah. I didn't expect you to, so I'll,
Go back to the video.
all right. I'll
But I
email
think
it to you,
that's- I think that's a good idea.
not next week. When I get back, I'll email it to you.
I'm gonna work on it next, no.
All right, sorry to belabor this, but that was all I had.
That's good.
Good, no, everything else, I think you put everything else in there that we discussed at the last meeting. And I apologize, I wasn't prepared at the last meeting. I could have put these in there and we could have been done with it by now, but I just thought of these recently, so. We can belabor that for a third reading. Okay. The next item on here was to go over action items from the previous meeting.
We have 15 minutes.
Yeah, so when do we want to recess this meeting?
6:30.
I don't know that we have to.
Don't have to, we're not going anywhere. The only reason for the recess.
Right.
is to get a little-
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I only want to give you enough time to collect whatever you have to get together.
All set, it's all got upstairs.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, if we can keep going, I
Yeah,
prefer to just go
let's go,
right,
yeah.
and then just pause maybe 5 minutes before 7 o'clock. And
When are we talking about additional information? Because the PFAS test results, are we gonna talk about that after the
Yeah, after the public hearing, I guess.
That's fine with me. I just want
Yeah.
to make sure I'm not missing that because there was something in there I
Right.
was concerned about.
All right, so let's do, let's go on the action items since unless, well, we can always add to them. If something comes up later too. All right, let's see here, summary, number 2, action item number 2. Outstanding ESRs. I think you did that at the last one. This has been put off to April.
Mhm.
There's really nothing more to talk about here, I don't think. Quarterly, number 23 is. You just actually have that in this packet, right? The
Yep.
distribution system, and
Yep.
we'll talk about that one. All right, so now that this is in February, this is quarterly. So that would be March, April, May for the next one. So Amanda, item number 23 on action items. If you can change February to March, April, May.
All right.
Number 40, the open house at the treatment plant, that was tabled until spring. I guess we can just keep that one for future.
We can maybe add a note here that we should talk about it once the plans are completed. Then we don't have to keep going over that.
Once the plants are,
Once
yeah,
the plans are completed,
right. Okay,
the filtration plans,
right.
well, 9 really, right?
Face it, plans.
No, plants, and
Okay,
I'm not talking about green plants.
yeah,
I agree with Wolf on that. You know,
right. Ongoing salt committee meetings. I don't think we're planning on scheduling anything at this point, or I didn't know if you had something to talk about under new or old business or superintendent report on that, if you want to push that off or.
The only thing, it was on the superintendent's report, but I can talk about it now. Fidelity has committed to 3 sets of signs and 3 posts to put on their property.
Good,
Nice,
back for protection.
Delivered Monday or Tuesday next week. I can-
very good.
Are they gonna be installed? Or that, no, their contract.
So I do the installation.
That's private property. All right,
And I did go back and after our last meeting, we were talking about
DOT.
DOT signs. And I never noticed those before,
Yeah,
but I went out and looked and
limited salt area, right? I think it says.
it was limited. There was one actually coming this way. I want to say it's right in front of Fidelity. I almost
On
want to say it's
Continental.
like a, most one, it was like a no salt area or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So one oddball sign.
They're clearly not aware of that. So, what do you think about contacting them about moving the one on Industrial Drive, which is almost at the intersection with Continental, about moving that one further back Industrial Drive towards the highway? Because it all drains this way anyways.
It does. And I want to say Jamie, I think. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I want to say Jamie wanted to get in touch with them regarding to discuss
All these matters, basically.
the salts, the salt.
Is he aware of that sign? I don't think he was aware when we discussed it. I don't think.
I don't know. I can.
Can you maybe make a note to follow up with him on that about if he's planning on talking to DOT about the whole salt mitigation issue committee and whatnot, maybe he can ask them if they can push it back.
I like to incorporate our sign, get.
Yeah, the wellhead
well,
protection.
put our signs out.
Absolutely. It'd be great if they can move that sign back and also stick the aquifer protection sign on the same post. It just doesn't make sense to have limited salt area at the intersection when 1/10 of a mile drains
The entire hill.
Yeah.
Towards that intersection.
Okay. Future event policy, it looks like that's scheduled for April. I know there was an email that came out now. If you want, we can talk about that at the old business or something, if you want to do that.
That's fine.
Review the SDC calculation metrics. Says June 23 work session. Same thing with number 49, the corrosion control. I think the idea was there to give our new treatment plants some time to come online, see if that helps the
Right.
control the corrosion issues.
Do we have a date for that? For the June 23?
I don't think so,
Okay. I was. wanna make
but you
sure I'm
know,
not
we
missing-
probably could try to put some dates out there now because people are doing vacations and things in June. So that would be with Underwood, right? So
I would probably rather see May even than June, or at least early June,
yeah, well,
because
can you make a note, Ron, too, to maybe follow up with Keith? On action items 47 and 49? And see if we can pin a date down, now that we're kind of getting closer to that time. All right, number 55. We did review the sick pay and PTO. Did we come to a conclusion on that? Number 55, it
No.
says discuss in February, but I don't think we came to any conclusion.
in the last meeting we asked
We brought it back to you
staff
guys.
to. And
So we don't need to discuss it now. It's just I'm wondering if we want to put a date or a month that we want to bring it back as an agenda item. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
We can do it next month, it's just we ran out of time.
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
let's do that.
do we want to change item number 55 in the last column to have that be March? If you guys think you're ready for it?
Oh, this is the February meeting, not the March meeting, that's right. Sorry. I'm confused.
So Amanda, you can make action item number 55 to be discussed in March instead of February at that last column.
Okay.
Thank you. Number 56, policy for 56 and 57 permitted based on peak consumption rather than average consumption. So these two items were scheduled from February, the last meeting.
Isn't that what we just?
That's what we did. That's
Right.
related to what we're doing on
Yeah.
this policy, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, so you think we're gonna try to bring that back next month?
Yep.
Okay, so Amanda, if you want to change those from February to March for number 56 and 57.
And just for clarity's sake, that's really two items. The one item is that you guys are thinking about how we can monitor what's been permitted and versus what's being built, right? Which is what we talked earlier about. And then after your edits, it's about adding.
Yeah, I'm not sure how these two differ.
Well, I think.
Monitoring overall.
I think the
Monitor-
first one is
the
more
policy.
to, right,
And then
both of them are for the policy, but the first one is more about
how do we monitor?
how do we, the first one is,
Second one's how do we monitor?
the second one is how we want it. The first one is what we permit. And that is including the irrigation projections that you guys have just
Yeah.
talked about. Right?
Right. So the monitoring could be
What would that?
using our software or something?
Right.
or-
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so if you think you're ready for those in March. Man, to change them to March.
Yeah.
And if not, we'll table them another time if you can't, okay. All right, number 58, quarterly graphs, those are. Says to be given in February.
We have not sampled for quarterlies yet, we're waiting for 2 and 9 to come online.
Okay,
So we might do them all at the same time, so they're on the same cycle.
Mhm.
So for some of them, they're just gonna be a little later in the quarter.
and those are non-PFAS. This is all iron and manganese, sodium chloride stuff.
But we'll have them for February, for March.
All right, so number 58, Amanda, if you can change that last column from March.
Quarterlies-
They take
quarterlies
it
are
quick,
like
right?
fast,
Okay.
It'll take like 3 weeks to get them back, so if we're gonna
It's like
be
days.
firing up 2 in the next couple of weeks. Get back the following week, so I'll have it before the meeting.
That's good, but we're loading up the agenda for March big time right now.
Yeah, well, these are really just providing graphs.
That's true.
I don't know if it's much of
Okay.
a discussion item, but you're right. Let's keep that in mind.
Okay,
I don't want to put too much on March.
So are we keeping that for March though?
yeah. Great.
Yeah, if you think you guys, that's okay with you, with you guys,
Yeah, if for some reason they end up being delayed, it's.
kick it out further. All right. All right, 59, evaluation of proactive measures to track, correlate customer water complaints. That was looking like it was due in April, so
But that's he's been working. I talked to Amy about it, and whenever there's a water quality issue, we have to send somebody out. There's a work order already being done, so that's something that's being tracked in the system.
Yeah, I think this was more about mapping it like geographically so we can pinpoint, like, for example, an area that has like increased, chlorine complaints or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because right now we get the work order, but unless somebody is visualizing where it is, we may not correlate that 3 or 4 people within one area are now complaining about it, right?
do we have a GIS software?
We do, they're not connected right now, though.
I think we had actually talked about that as part of the discussion before to possibly connect them, right? So,
Cause it'd be good. Are we tracking like main breaks and things too?
We are, everything's in a notebook right now, and then it gets transferred over to GIS.
Has that been happening or is it we waiting for the GIS to get?
We really need to get our arms around everything.
Yeah,
This map's all over the place. We need to really rein it in, so.
actually, no, we talked about that too, didn't we? We talked about an update for our model to do just that. Last summer, we talked about that an update is needed for our,
yeah, isn't Underwood doing a
Yeah,
big,
but that's not connected. The model, the model that they're updating is what they're doing before
the distribution system, right?
distribution system. It's when, hydraulic model, it's how things operate. And
All right, so it's not like a GIS.
that's not tied to the GIS.
No.
I would have thought it was, okay.
So it probably only deals with like pipe sizes and distances.
So when there's a mainline extension, if there's new customers coming on, they run these different scenarios on that model to see if it's gonna be a pressure problem with your house or down the road, that type of.
Is that like literally a 3D model of our distribution
I
system?
don't think it's 3D.
I don't know what the new model's gonna look
Or at least 2D?
But the old one was basically just a line. It looked like a map.
Yeah.
You could
Right.
just turn things on, turn things off, and
With layers.
It's got nodes. I've worked in some of these years ago. It's got like nodes at each intersection point, and you gotta tell it what the pipe size and the length is between the nodes. And then you can assign like water demands at each node. And you got tanks in there and you got pumps and it's so you have wells that feed the system, you have sources that take out of the system, and it tells you what the flow is in each pipe and the friction and.
you can shut certain wells off, you can set tank levels and estimate pressure.
It might even step through time and everything too, like that, and but
It was an older,
yeah,
it was an older version.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was pre-2010, so I know it's like the original. I don't see it's the original version of it, but. And I'm not 100% when they originally got it, but.
yeah. I think it was like Water Gems or something. Underwood said that the new one was gonna be, it was. See that referred to in
Water can,
magazines or something, it might be.
I think it's Water Gems, the new one. I think you're right on that.
Yeah. All right, so anyways, what about the if the GIS, what I'm wondering is that with the summer coming, would we want to have like a summer intern? If it's like, if we have the software and know how to enter the information and we just have a bunch of maps and a bunch of field reports, do we want to have someone, it doesn't have to be the staff because it sounds like a kind of labor intensive thing.
It is, and Brian and I talked about it. And
Maybe have someone come in to,
I don't know, yeah,
I don't know how else to. Are we not ready for it yet because of the GIS system we have, or I don't understand what,
We've been kind of. The old operations manager was doing a lot of the setting it up. You know, by ourselves. And. Just there's some good information in there, there's some bad information, there's like I said, there's multiple maps and. We just. So Brian and I had talked, and I think my thought was. Get somebody in that. Knows what they're doing. Whether it's an engineering firm or whatever.
could it be an employee of the company that has the software or something that?
That could be as well,
Yeah.
but just somebody that knows the programming end of it and the GIS piece. And, maybe not Underwood, just somebody that can actually devote some time to it, and get a cost, and we'll contract it out. There's just a lot going on, and
Yeah,
Ryan's been doing it, but
it's not a priority, obviously.
other stuff comes ahead of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd like to get our asset management program all tied in as well. To the GIS, and
Yeah,
ultimately, we'd like everything tied in.
I think that's where everything's trying to go is one source, just getting it all into there.
We need to do some cleanup first, and then we need to know how it all gets together, and it just.
So doesn't this touch that grant? That Kristen, I was screwed that up. Presented a couple months ago too.
Cybersecurity.
No,
we had the asset management.
Exactly,
Yes, and some of it does,
because I remember some bullet points are listing some of the things you just mentioned, right?
yes,
There was a grant involved, right?
it was, so I need to figure out what. Part of that. They haven't delivered or need to deliver or. Work it into the GIS piece as well.
But we probably should start there before we start another project anyway, right?
Right,
Because otherwise we might work in parallel and do redundant work. That might be good to get an update on that asset management project in one of the next two meetings. Depending on how full the agenda is.
Let's put that off to April, maybe.
It's fine.
Yeah. All right, so what was that one? That was the number 59, right?
So we put a task in that.
Oh, it actually is in April. Is that the one I'm looking at, the right one or not? Yeah, customer track and correlate customer water quality complaints.
We could add like a note here, update on asset, implementation of asset management plan.
Yeah,
And date that to April. Right?
yeah. So you want to modify 59?
Add a line in between after chlorine. Update on asset management plan project.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. All right,
Date that for April. Yep, okay.
number 60, I don't think we've heard anything from,
no, still haven't heard anything,
right. We'll just leave that there. Number 67. Oh, there it is. Inquire with DOT about moving the no salt sign closer to exit 10. There you go. Good, that's on there. So, yeah, get with Jamie on that. If he's got a discussion with DOT overall, maybe there's something can kind of slip in there, that request.
Yep. I'm sorry about jumping back by 60, but have you actually called him or? Because I know Lou Niles, have you actually called him or
I
something?
haven't.
He had in the past, but probably.
I have called him in the past, I've sent him text, I sent him tried an email, I just don't have an active email for him.
Mhm.
He was supposed to send me the information, he said he was gonna send it, he just has never sent it. And
Huh.
I can try to reach back out to him again and.
I mean, at some point, we're talking about putting those columns in at wells 4 and 5. I think I would like to look at testing resin, maybe if we're gonna start testing stuff and like throw zeolite in there and see how that works too.
Right.
No? So be good to get some groundwork on that at some point. But I don't know, try to follow up with them and ask, tell them,
It's just weird.
if you tell him we're interested in testing his media
Yeah.
at wells 4 and 5, because we're gonna build them, those columns, those pilot columns, that'll spark his interest.
Yep.
Should give him a little bit of incentive to respond.
But what I don't understand, I know that he's working with one of our neighbors, right, on a domestic filtration system and how
I
has
believe, yeah.
implemented one, right?
Yeah.
So,
Wouldn't he want to follow up some testing on that? Yeah.
well, and you would think that he's very interested
Although
on a
the
commercial
water
application.
going into that vessel now, it's in a private residence. Pretty much all of our water is treated, so.
Should be working great.
We really want to know how it's gonna work with
Well,
this
man.
70 PFOA and not
Yeah, still.
0.
Okay.
No. All right. s- 68, investigate if funding's available for AR and Mitchell Woods Engineering.
So we did have a meeting, well, but, with,
Oh, that new, the county
the
funding.
county, Carrie,
So Nancy Murphy made us aware of additional ARPA funds that are coming in and being disseminated through the county, not through the DES on this one.
right,
And it was for disadvantaged communities or something. And according to Nancy Murphy, there's been a distinction already made that Merrimack classifies as a disadvantaged community because of the PFAS exposure that we've encountered for years. So it's not just related to the income level. So go ahead. I just wanted to set the table on the background.
We did have a meeting, with them, we do qualify, so the,
Nice.
Mitchell Woods and the 2 remaining roads. The town would qualify.
For water main extensions that we're
Doing extensions.
looking at, yep.
So, Heath is gonna be submitting those.
right, good.
And I actually did follow up with Amy Russo as well. Just in case they got kicked back, and there is a. Any, so I had. Talked to Amy or sent her an email, said, hey, you know, you did mention at one time there was be some additional funds opening up. She pointed out that there's could be some funds going back in people that aren't doing projects.
No,
There's 10 million over the next couple of years coming up. I believe that is the same. I talked with the New Hampshire Municipal Association. I mentioned to you that there's a Senate bill to get that money put back and the additional funds, and I had talked to, wanted some information on how these plants work, so I talked to her about that and offered out that if any one of the people voting on this want to come down and take a look at what a plant looks like to give me a call, and I will certainly give them a tour. And I even offered that the next, whenever it goes back to whichever House or Senate for a vote, that if they need testimony, I can come up and do some testimony as well.
Good.
For that 10 mil.
yeah, actually, Representative Nancy Murphy asked me about that too, about some kind of a visit that I forget who was asking about. She asked me about coordinating that, and I said, it's better for you to coordinate that because you're the staff, you're the on-site crew, so. It sounds like somebody followed up with you there.
Hampshire Municipal Association. She's well aware of it anyways. I asked, said, just give me a call if that's something we want to set up. So,
Right. I told her I wouldn't mind going. I don't want to, I'm not the one that should be coordinating all of it.
Right.
I would certainly go, be there if people want to talk about it or something, sure. Okay.
Again, another piece of it that she mentioned. But anyways, she followed up saying she's keeping us in mind for any funding that comes back, comes available to give us a call for those additional roads as well. So
Yeah, she knows that we got other stuff out there that
Absolutely.
Okay,
That was my kind of my concern. This was the two roads were driven. That whole PFAS, the mainline extension was driven by DES to get additional people hooked up. So I didn't know if we were better off going through that avenue. If we'd be better off, going that avenue to get accepted. So I don't know if we get accepted through the county, that's great, then we go
Right.
that route. I just don't know if they're gonna ask for some sort of a skin in the game type of thing. Whereas before with all the grants, but
Yeah.
we can certainly apply for the grants, but portion of it, I just don't know if that.
yeah, I wasn't clear if it included a contribution on our part or.
It was kind of the same deal we went through, at least that was my interpretation of when we went through the loan program before, that they like to see a little bit of skin in the game type of thing. That's
Drinking water, groundwater trust. I think
right, the
that
trust
was
funds and all of that. They kind of like to see that. And
The
Yeah.
ARPA funds, Carrie said, is straight up grant
right.
match on that one.
I thought, so I'm talking loans. I did ask about those loans through as well. So, but either way.
Right. Obviously, we prefer the grant.
No, yeah.
Okay. All right, that's good. What are we at on 69? More granular breakdown of the actual costs and savings of switching to monthly billing. I think, did we get that? We didn't get that yet?
Same with 70, I think we did not get that yet.
70 was talked to legal regarding offering benefits for paperless
We didn't
billing.
get a
Oh, yeah,
response.
right.
On that.
Oh, we did?
Carrie said, offer a discount or incentive for online billing, but cannot charge an extra fee for customers who choose to use paper billing.
Okay,
All right, so we can
So we can
offer a
just-
discount.
right,
It's kind of the same,
sure.
shakes out all kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
sure, yeah.
It's interesting. Okay, it's good to know.
That's why you ask a lawyer because
Yeah, just the way it's worded.
it's sticky.
We don't have any, what are these?
Well, hang on. 469, should
Yeah.
we?
We don't have any date certain that we want to follow up on any.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. But for 70, then I would like to jump back on that.
No, for 69 to try to get that information if we can for next meeting.
Would be good, yeah. Prior to the meeting, the annual meeting.
Okay, so do we want to have Amanda put something in that last column, March meeting for
Yep.
number 69? Number 70, if that's. So we've got a conclusion to this question. Do we want to leave it on here in case we want to keep it to implement it?
Well, I think I would probably close that action item and change it into a new one or
Yeah,
change whatever with the wording on this one, I don't care. And that would be to ask staff, that was freaking German. To review whether or not we can implement that. A discount for customers that do paperless billing, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, we don't know if our software and our billing systems are able to do that.
so
So the ball is back.
implement, we want to talk about implementation of discounts for paperless billing.
Yeah, basically, I would probably close out 70.
Yeah,
create a
let's
new
close
one,
out 70. I like that. It's just
Yeah. Create a new one, 72.
72.
Staff to present possible technical solutions. Or possible solutions, they could be procedural too, it doesn't matter to us, right?
Yeah, for implementation
For
of
implementing discounts for customers for
paperless
that
billing.
do paperless billing, yeah.
Did you get enough of that, Amanda?
I did. Would that go to, who would that go to?
Staff,
Just staff in general?
yeah. Jill, I guess. Ron,
Ron and Jill.
Okay. And number 69, who should that be assigned to? Same, Ron and Joe?
I think it was. It was Kristen.
Kristen, maybe is that her?
Kristen, okay.
Yeah, she doesn't attend the meeting either, so when you put it under me, I'll get Kristen.
Okay.
Done together.
Okay, so Jill.
Yeah. All right, so we're good with, so 70's retired. 71,
It's retired.
we kind of did that last.
It's complete.
Do we need something like written though,
Let's
or?
leave it there for now, because I am planning on creating a written policy.
Okay.
Yeah, because you did for the, yeah, this other one we reviewed earlier, so. All right, so let's leave that there.
Well, we can probably put that to April, right? Because we just did a change out. It's not really super urgent.
Well, we might have one for
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
Okay. Do you think, can we do that for March?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should probably actually be like physically planning on,
No, I'm talking about the
Changing out.
policy.
No, just the policy.
I know.
Policy.
But
even changing out the media. I discussed before, I think we should probably be talking to Lynette Underwood about. Do we bother with the, well, you're gonna do that, the cost of the caustic.
I gotta do that anyways. We're gonna sit down. I think we're gonna be,
I think if we wait anything longer, we're gonna be doing it in June.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna work.
There'll be a problem, yeah. I agree.
All right,
I gotta cost out the caustic or whatever for bacteria, for the
biofilm.
biofilm, killing off that, you know. Maybe we only need to do one, because if we do a change out,
That's what I'm thinking. We'd probably just go to the lag vessel right now and plan on changing the lead.
I feel we're gonna probably need to do, regardless, we're gonna need to some sort of a treatment for both. Make sure it's not still living in there. You don't wanna reintroduce it with the new media.
Right.
Actually, that's a good question. Maybe we want to kill the lead vessel first. And then change the media out and get it rejuvenated. All right, I think we should plan on getting that.
But that's part of my questions I have.
Yeah.
For them. Some sort of a plan together.
And you have that covered, or do we need a task?
No, I have covered. My plan regardless is get well 2 online. So we can shut 7 and 8 down to something. We need to figure that out.
Yes.
And get them clean, do whatever we need to do. That's.
Yep.
The overall plan is to get 2 online soon.
Okay. All right, so we're through that agenda. I guess,
We could do old business.
we want to go right till 7. Are we good? And then we can just open the public hearing, or what do you need to do anything?
Get people to log on and stuff too, otherwise.
It's a whole different Zoom meeting. So you gotta-
Oh, all right, okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, bathroom break.
all right, so what do we want to do? Do we want to
We're gonna
recess now?
recess now, board meeting. And then back up and finish up that Zoom.
Okay. All right, so I guess at this time, we will we have to do probably a motion to recess or anything like that, or?
Yes.
We do?
All right. So I guess at this time, we have it's almost 6:50. We have a public hearing coming up at 7. And we need to close out this Zoom meeting and open up a different Zoom meeting for the public hearing. So I think at this time, I'll entertain a motion to recess this meeting. I guess that's really all we need to do.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion to recess by Wolf, second by Paul. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ken Air says aye.
Thanks, Ken. That carries 400, no oppositions, no abstentions. Welcome, Merrimack. Today is February 23rd, 2023. And we are here at the Merrimack Village District public hearing for the budget warrant articles for fiscal year 2023-2024. I just want to read a statement. Due to the school closing, the Merrimack Village District MVD public hearing scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight, February 23rd, 2023, for the 2023-2024 budget and warrant articles has been relocated to this room, which is at the MVD office at 2 Greens Pond Road. If you're hearing this and you want to attend in person, please enter through the rear door of the building to access this conference room. We are also providing this public hearing via Zoom. And you can go on the Zoom, you can go on the mvdwater.org website and download the agenda for tonight's meeting. And there is a Zoom link on that agenda. It's a long link, so I'm not going to read it. Or you can call in by phone by calling 646-876-9923 and enter the meeting ID number 848-1855-9726. All right, great. So at this moment, I will declare the public hearing relative to the Merrimack Village District proposed 2023-2024 operating budget and warrant articles open for comments. Notice of this public hearing was advertised in the Nashua Telegraph and appeared in the January 25, 26, 27, 2023 online editions and the January 29, 2023 printed edition. That's the Nashua Telegraph. Public hearing notice was also posted at the Merrimack Village District website, www.mvdwater.org, posted at the MVD office, at the Merrimack Town Hall, and post office. So the purpose of this hearing is to allow comments from the public in relation to the proposed 2023-2024 operating budget and warrant articles. When all comments have been received, I will close this public hearing and the board will go into session to consider action on the proposed 2023-2024 budget and warrant articles. Are there any questions about this procedure? At this time, I will note that there are no members of the public present for this meeting at this room. Online, do we have anybody that we may know of that is joining this meeting? Doesn't look like it. Looks like everyone on our Zoom call is related
On
to,
attendees was 0 on the right, the second tab.
everyone's related to MVD, it looks like, so.
Okay.
And we have no other attendees. Okay. All right, well, that being said, I will go through and read the warrants. Article number 1, choose 2 commissioners for a 3-year term of office. And a written ballot vote will be required. Article 2 is to choose 1 district clerk and 1 district clerk for a 2-year term of office. Again, written ballot vote required. Article number 3, shall the Merrimack Village District vote to change the purpose of the existing emergency water and or operations and maintenance of GAC treatment facilities non-capital reserve fund created by warrant article 6 at the March 2021 annual meeting to the purchase of water and or the operations and maintenance of GAC facility treatment facilities non-capital reserve fund, and to name the commissioners as agents to expend from this fund. A 2/3 majority vote is required on that one. And previously, this was recommended by the Board of Commissioners on a vote of 4-0-0 in favor, no oppositions, no abstentions. This has been reviewed by the Department of Revenue Administration. Article number 4, shall the Merrimack Village District vote to enter, and I'm not going to ask if there's any questions because there's no members of the public here. But I'll still ask in case any of MVD employees are have any questions. Seeing none. Article number 4, shall the Merrimack Village District vote to enter into a multi-year contract for supplemental water with Pennachuck Waterworks in the amount of $892,102 to be paid over 3 years, starting on July 1st, 2023, in the 23-24 fiscal year and ending on June 30, 2026, in the 25-26 fiscal year, with each annual payment in the amount of $297,368 to raise and appropriate the sum of $297,368 for the first year's payment for that purpose, with said funds to come from the GAC Treatment Facilities Non-Capital Reserve Fund. If Article 3 fails, the $297,368 will come from unassigned fund balance. This article needs a 3/5 written ballot majority vote to pass. This was recommended by the Board of Commissioners in a prior vote. 4 in favor, no oppositions, no abstentions, 4-0-0. And this was also reviewed by the Department of Revenue Administration. Seeing nobody in the audience, I will move on to Article 5. To see if the Merrimack Village District will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,019,666 for general municipal operations for the 23-24 fiscal year, with said sum to come from water-related charges. This article does not include appropriations contained in special or individual articles addressed separately. A minority vote is required on this one.
Majority.
Sorry. A majority vote is required on this.
Nice try.
This has also been recommended by the Board of Commissioners 4-0-0 and reviewed by the Department of Revenue Administration. Seeing nobody in the audience, I'll move to Article 6. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to establish a contingency fund pursuant to RSA 52:4-A by raising and appropriating the amount of $20,000 to meet the cost of unanticipated expenses that may arise during the fiscal year 23-24, with said funds to come from water-related charges. Majority vote required on that one. This was previously recommended by the Board of Commissioners unanimously 4-0-0, no oppositions, no abstentions. And this article was previously reviewed by the Department of Revenue Administration. Seeing no questions and no public, we'll move to Article 7. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to add to the district's non-capital reserve fund for the purchasing water and/or the operations and maintenance of GAC treatment facilities? This sum to come from unassigned fund balance. If Article 3 fails, then this article will be null and void. A majority vote is required. This is recommended unanimously by the Board of Commissioners 4-0-0 and reviewed by the Revenue Administration, Department of Revenue Administration. Moving on, Article 8. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $52,500 under provisions of RSA 35:1, Roman numeral 1 and 2, to add to the district's system development capital reserve fund for the future system expansion and improvement of the existing system? This sum to come from the unassigned fund balance. These are the system development charges collected during the fiscal year 21-22 budget. Majority vote is required on this one. Recommended unanimously by the Commissioners 4-0-0 and reviewed by the Department of Revenue Administration. Article 9. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 under the provisions of RS 35:1, Roman numeral 1 and 2, to add to the district's equipment and facilities capital reserve fund for associated costs with existing storage, transmission, and production of water. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance. A majority vote is required. Recommended previously by the commissioners unanimously 400, reviewed by the Department of Revenue Administration. The last article is long, it's article number 10. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to amend current bylaw 2B, which is deposits, charges, and payments. And this is going to be amended from the following. Item B, charges for services under rates in the tariff are predicted upon billing quarterly, which as far as practicable will be 3 months apart and due upon presentation. Should any bill remain unpaid after 30 days from the date of the invoice, the district may discontinue service as well as apply a carrying charge on the overdue amount if proper payment or arrangements have not been made. Further, the district may record a notice of lien in the Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds stating the name and the owner of the property, the address, and the amount due pursuant to the district bylaws and terms and conditions. This lien shall be removed when the overdue account plus all costs and fees authorized by the district's bylaws and terms and conditions have been paid, together with the reasonable cost and attorney's fees associated with the recording of such lien. Okay, so that was everything I read. That was the existing language, and that is going to be changed to the following. Charges for services under rates in the tariff are predicted upon billing monthly. This is the change. We're going from quarterly to monthly, which as far as practicable will be 30 days apart and due upon presentation. Should any MVD bill remain unpaid after 30 days from the date of invoice, the district may discontinue service as well as apply a carrying charge on the overdue account if proper payment or arrangements have not been made. Further, the district may record a notice of lien in the Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds stating the name of the owner of the property, the address, and the amount due pursuant to the district bylaws and terms and conditions. This lien shall be removed when the overdue account plus all costs and fees authorized by the district bylaws and terms and conditions have been paid, together with reasonable costs and attorney's fees associated with the recording of such lien. That's the end of the change. A majority vote is required on this. This was previously approved by the Board of Commissioners unanimously 400 and reviewed by the Department of Revenue Administration. And I guess there is an Article 11. This article is to transact any other business and close the meeting. All right, so that's the end. At this point, I don't see anybody in the public here at the office. Is there anybody that has joined on?
Yeah. Oh, it's Kristen. Okay.
Okay, Kristen, who's an MVD employee, so it looks like we don't have anybody in the public present here in the room or on the Zoom meeting.
Technically, she's an attendant, so we should ask her if she has any comment.
We can,
You're unmuted, Kristen.
Kristen, do you have any questions on this?
Oh, she might be muted on her end.
Nope, she
She
leaves.
jumped off.
Kristen, can you hear us or can you speak to us if you have any questions? We know, we're just wondering if you're here as a resident of MVD customer.
Or just put it in the chat, maybe. She's probably not showing in the other list in the other tab.
It looks like she's muted on her end, so I don't think she has anything to ask.
My understanding was it was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she was just.
All right, so at this point, I will, so that was questions from the public. Supposed to ask if there's any questions from the press. We do not have any press on Zoom or in the office here. So seeing no further questions, I'll declare this public hearing closed. The Board of Commissioners will reopen the session of the Merrimack Village District Board of Commissioners meeting upon conclusion of all public hearings for this evening, which is where we are at now.
I'll make a motion to reconvene the meeting.
Second.
All right, motion to reconvene the meeting by Wolf, second by Paul. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Ken, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, that's 4-0-0 on reconvening the meeting, the regular session.
I just jumped on, Dawn. I presume you don't need me any longer and didn't need me at all, actually, but
That's right, Keith. I'm glad you have an ace in a hole if we did need you, but I think you're good. Enjoy your evening and
Tell the governor we say aye.
yes.
All right.
A special thank you from MVD.
all right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. We'll talk again.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Actually, I do need that, please. Sorry.
Okay. Do we need another motion to approve the operating budget and warrant articles at this point, or
Just to move it forward to.
move it forward to the annual meeting?
So moved
Second.
As printed.
as printed. So moved as printed.
Moved by Wolf, second
Second.
by Paul. Any other questions, comments? No, if not, everybody in favor of moving the operating budget and warrant articles to the annual meeting signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Ken, how do you vote?
Aye.
Great, 4-0-0, no oppositions, no abstentions. And I think at this point, we can return to regular business.
Want to sign this?
Sure. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
And I heard that it is pretty us.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
I have a little bit of a mix. Started again, so.
That means they're not putting too much help on the road. It's good.
Yeah, right.
We're just thinking, all right.
Sure.
Thanks, Michelle. You're our second ace in the hole that we didn't need to use tonight.
Yes, I brought the magic files.
Shows if you come prepared, then we don't need it, right?
And now that you're here, I think we do need to put on record again, this budget season has been even better prepared than last one. It has been really smooth, it has been easy, it has been efficient, so thank you to staff.
We love the handouts that are gonna be available at the annual
Yeah.
meeting to explain the budget.
Yeah.
Where the costs are coming from,
Mhm.
how the cost would be different if
Yeah.
the chemicals didn't increase.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
It just changed the way you look at the whole
It does.
issue.
does.
You realize two items are throwing us off from
Yeah.
25% to 6%.
It's really
Right.
right. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, and Kristen.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure,
Krista, if you're listening, that same goes for you. Thank you so much. And that all became apparent at the budget workshops as well. It was easy for us to follow and understand everything. So definitely pleased on how that came about. So
Okay, very good.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, great.
So is the meeting all done then? We're good?
Oh, not yet.
Almost.
We got just a few last things. It's just the last old and new business and that type of thing.
That's not fair. If we were at the high school, we would be done.
No,
no.
we actually weren't fair the last time, the last 3 times we did it. We let you off the hook too early, Ken. All right, so we are gonna reconvene. We've reconvened the meeting. The first thing on the agenda is old business. So if anybody has any old business to bring up, now would be the time.
We got a proposal from Underwood for the, looking into the resin polishing.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
We didn't get it put on the agenda, so we're just bringing it up under old business.
All right. So I think this was a request for them to do some preliminary cost estimates if we were considering expanding our treatment plants to put in anion resin for further polishing of the PFAS that may be allowed to break through the GAC vessels. What this would do would be an opportunity for us to let the GAC vessels stay longer without changing the GAC media and allow mostly the short chain PFAS to break through, which are not readily absorbed by carbon and are better absorbed by the resin. So that was the purpose of that.
So also looking into other options that might be available.
Right. Okay.
So this is asking for $25,000 for the first two tasks and then $100,000 for advanced piloting and conceptual design. As noted in task 3. I'm gonna say right away, I think that's premature, the 100,000. We
Right.
can make that decision right away once we start proceeding through the first two tasks.
Correct. The only reason you put that in there for budgeting purposes is if we want to agree on this. But obviously. We have a whole year to do that.
Yeah, and we
I
have
think
capital
we-
reserves and everything, so, yeah.
Carry the 25,000 in the budget here. Trying to remember.
There was,
We added something for Jamie and Keith, I thought, right? Underwood and Emery and Garrett. If I'm not mistaken.
we did. Drawing a blank. Go back and like it.
So,
It was, but it was, that's Mitchell Woods and AR.
oh, that's right, it wasn't this.
I don't think we have anything for that.
So anyways, this, if we approve it. I mean, are they looking for us to approve this evening? I guess it's up to us, really.
It's up to you. This is a proposal and this came after the January meeting and that's what
Right.
you asked for the proposal, so budgeting was done too. But it's the,
I
you
mean,
can have them put together an ESR for just the 25,000.
no, I don't think we have to do that. We can,
I think we're gonna approve task
yeah, I
one
think so too.
at this point, just limit it to that, right?
And I would like to speed up the timeline. 120 days is, I know it's not super long, but it's also not soon, right? I mean, the PFPA is costing us a lot of money because of premature change out of PAC, right?
To remember though. It's gonna involve an addition
Sure.
to, I mean,
All the more reason to expedite it now, because if we get these plans knocked out this year,
We're
we
still
could do the next construction season, next, 1 year from now.
If that's at the earliest, I would.
Right,
Yeah.
sure, it is the earliest, but
Yeah.
if we're, the more we speed it up this year, the better the chance. I mean, this is a pretty small project in the end.
Compared to what we just went through, yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm saying I think we should expedite this fairly aggressively. The only reason why I'm saying is because we're replacing GAC prematurely before it's laden with the long chain PFAS. The whole point of this addition would be to polish the short chains out. So we're actually getting savings from doing this.
Right.
no, I completely understand. I just. It wouldn't be something that would even happen next season, though. I mean, we still would need funding for an addition. And all of that, so we're looking. Almost probably 2 years out,
Fair enough,
if not.
unless the law changes, which we don't know, right? We know that DPA is working on stuff, so.
Yeah.
And then we can move forward actually with capital reserve funds and stuff, so. I mean, I'm just saying, we all know that we lose time at the beginning of a project, not at the end of the project, right? So I would push this pretty
So,
hard now.
so the funding would come a year from now at March 2024.
Right.
If we wanted to proceed with something, this is costing out what that amount would cost us
Right.
to develop this, right?
Yeah. I just
So,
wanna, I don't wanna hit March not knowing what we're doing here.
no, I
You know what
know,
I'm saying?
I agree. So if we made a motion to proceed with the tasks 1 and 2 now. Where would that come from? Is there money in the present budget where we can pull from?
If engineering contract.
We do, but I also know we have that loan. First loan payments in June. What was the loan payment? 76,000.
Could come from capital reserve though, right?
Is that what you want to think about, capital
We're gonna
reserve?
do, if we move forward, could you capital reserves or from budget if there's. From 2 sources, and if we need to go to capital reserves, we can do that as well.
That's equipment and facilities then, right? Or
Yes,
water and waste, water treatment plant O&M, no, that's O&M. Would have to be probably
let's do
equipment and facilities, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
the budget or equipment.
what's the balance in there?
3 million.
Yeah, I guess I'm good with that, because then it won't impact the budget.
If we can, if there's room.
There's room, yeah, yeah.
You certainly use the budget. I know that.
So can we make a motion with the one or the other? Prioritizing the budget, and if it's not there, we'll take it out of that capital reserve.
I'll make a motion to approve. What is this? There's no ESR number.
So,
Proposed for PFAS polishing planning dated February 7th from Underwood Engineers. Tasks 1 and 2 in the amount of $25,000 coming either from the operating budget out of the engineering account or equipment facilities capital reserve. Preferably the former, right?
priority.
If possible,
Budget, yeah.
preferably out of the budget. I would like to add that I would like to have the work schedule of 120 days. I would like to see that expedited faster than that, if possible.
Yeah, at least request if Underwood can
Yep.
maybe drop it to 90 or so.
Yep.
Second the motion.
Well done. Motion by Wolf, second by Paul. Any other discussion, questions? All right, all those in favor of proceeding with the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ken, how do you vote on that?
Aye.
Great. All right, 4-0-0. No oppositions, no abstentions. Okay, so we're still on old business. Any other old business to present? Nothing? I just had a question. We are still sampling our monthly samples at wells 4 and 5, the finished water through all vessels, right? Going into the drinking water system? Yes. Okay. I noticed they weren't sampling the lag vessel at the sampling ports. I think they're just doing the new lead vessel. Because we just changed out the media.
We should be doing a lot.
There was one sampling around where when the media would change out, the one tank was empty.
Okay,
So that we only had half the samples because we didn't have any ports to sample.
all right, so maybe that, I think in these graphs, I didn't see the new lag vessel.
So if it's not broken through,
So we would put lead, it'll be say lead V2, vessel 2, because now vessel 2 is the lead tank, and then lag V1.
Right, so I think we are seeing breakthrough of just a couple of short chains through the new lead vessel.
Which is the old
Which is the old-
saturated.
Yes, which
Lag
wouldn't, it's no surprise.
Right.
We shouldn't be seeing it break through the new lag vessel. So that's why I don't think, but I wanted to make sure, I still want to know what's going in the distribution system. So as long as we're still
yeah,
doing.
no, absolutely.
Okay. All right, that's really all I wanted to know. And in the distribution results, I think you had some tables in here. I noticed we haven't sampled the Joppa Road distribution sample.
No, that second station was down for a while, and so we replaced it with another one. At a Winchester and.
All right, I was just wondering why we weren't, I didn't realize it. So that's out of Michigan. I didn't really know. Okay, I didn't know that was the case. All right, so
Before you jump off
Yeah.
of that, on that same token, specifically for Joppa Road, for example, I was really a little surprised about the P4 levels. 722, 21.
I think that was well two was on at that point. right?
Okay, well, but that was 21. I'm sorry, I didn't realize the date. But we're not sampling then, why? Okay, that's the one that you just said has been, okay,
Yeah, we replaced it 'cause we put
right. Okay,
side.
okay.
But that was Chester's replacing that one, you said, correct?
Yeah, okay.
That's another one.
I didn't pay enough attention to the dates up there. Those are all the ones that are high that kind of like where I was like, whoa, what's going on here? They're like from 2021, so it's nothing surprising. So sorry about that. That was a waste of time. Right, carry on, sorry.
No, I noticed some of the same things.
Well, I mean, actually. When you look at Turkey Hill Road, 1019-22 had 19.7 for P4. 15.2 plus.
Yeah, what
Like in
dates?
1019-22 for Turkey Hill Road. That's higher than I would have expected.
On 1019, you're looking at?
Yeah,
19 Turkey Hill Road had P4
19.7.
in like the 15s and 19s.
Yeah,
That's awfully high.
and this has been pretty consistent there in the prior too. Not quite that high, but were we using Penachuk connection at that point? I'm trying to,
Running well, too.
were we running well too?
Well, we ran, if we couldn't keep, so the first option was the Penachuk.
Right.
Up until, it was actually the end of,
yeah, but Panic Truck's not. You didn't get that high, are
No, I don't,
Single digits.
22, yeah, that's single digit.
Once they-
and there's no, it wouldn't take that long to flush out of the. If we stop pumping from pump two, that's a long
So
time.
there was a couple times that we, if we needed the supply, we would run well too.
Mhm.
So it could have correlated that it was on for a day or two or whatever, but there was,
I mean, the months prior were non-detect, right? It's just 1019 where it's like really high. 727 is non-detect. P4 is at 8, okay, yeah, it's
and even this
125 is in 2023 is non-detect across the board, so.
then it
I
was,
just go back and see when.
Yeah, I think we have to look at 1019 and look at what wells were running that day and try to explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned about that. Now granted, it doesn't continue before and after, so. that's
yeah,
good,
the
Right,
good news is the January sampling last month.
right.
All non-detect except for PFBA, 2.78.
But again, it's a long chain one, so that I didn't expect to see that.
No, you're right.
I'm trying to think back. I want to say that there was a couple days where it was. The demand was down, so 2 was off, but if the demand picked up, we had to fire up well too. So it was intermittent.
And this location is very near, well, to
Turkey Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
fairly, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause it's not really,
I mean, what
I
part of,
mean, it's showing up at Hutchison Road. But not at the same levels,
Right.
It's just weird that one sticks out that high.
Well, sorry, that was Turkey Hill Road, the one.
Yeah,
That's right off of the trunk main coming.
oh,
Well, 2 is feeding,
Hmm.
everything else is.
on its way to the pump station.
so I'm still looking Continental. Well, two is run off well, it's feeding Continental Boulevard, correct?
No, well, 2
No,
is
it's-
very lame.
Mhm.
It comes into Amherst.
That's right. Okay. All right. Because I was looking, I'm not seeing numbers anywhere near.
Yeah, no, it's right there. So it would,
It's the one that's tucked away. Off of the Turkey Hill Amherst intersection.
Yeah, and even Bedford Road, look at that one. It's consistently was non-detect on PFOA except for that date. And that was 6.09. So we must have been running well too
we were.
heavily at that point, for some
It was
reason.
cycling, I want to say. So we had, what was the date, 20th? I think we had to connect a special rate for.
Kicked in.
Oh.
Technically, we had it to the end of the month. The use of it. But we were still running up until probably the last week of October, well, too. It was needed as a source. But it
Even
was-
with the Penachuk
Even with the Penachuk.
special rate and
It
everything.
was cycling.
Yeah,
Once we shut down. We technically, we wouldn't be able to run well two unless we ran Penachuk. So we did run Penachuk one day. I forget what we were doing. We used I think we had to shut down one of the wells for a short period or something.
Is that when the
that's what I was.
lightning strike maybe hit or something?
Back and look, I think it was something.
There must have been some other.
No,
well
actually, it
counters.
was something at well, we're doing something at well too.
Well, maybe put an action item and just report back.
I was thinking about that, yeah.
Look at that, because
I don't want to put you on the spotlight.
I just trying to recall.
Oh, you're better off like looking back and trying to figure out. Amanda, can you add an action item on, for Ron, I guess, to, investigate the, I guess the elevated PFOA at the Turkey Hill Road sampling station on 10/19/2022?
Yep.
Okay,
March,
please, if you can.
I'll look at the dates and let you
there
know.
must have been something.
We were, I mean, I know we were still running, like I said, well, too. It was running, it was cycling, but it was still running.
Maybe we had to have the interconnect off for some reason or something. I don't know.
No, technically, we're supposed to be, in order to run well too, we had to be running the interconnect.
But you don't remember getting like a call that we had to shut the interconnect off or.
Nothing sticks out of my mind, but I could definitely look back at that.
Okay. Good.
I'm sorry, guys. I gotta take off.
All right, Ken, thanks
Thanks,
a
Ken.
lot.
Have a good night.
You too.
You too. All right, Ken leaves at 7:38.
38.
Is that any other old business? Seeing none, new business?
I have a quick one for you.
Yep.
Our radio, we did a radio upgrade, a SCADA upgrade that's in the process now. Within doing that, I guess we jumped onto Eversource's frequency. So we had to switch to a different frequency. They finally tracked us down and said, hey, you know, what's going on. They gave us a couple options to actually give them a spot for an antenna. They can use the frequency that they've switched to, you know, on, or obviously get a new frequency. We've already looked into getting a new frequency. It's just some programming that needs to be done in the stations. But they've also come to us and asked to start looking at working out a contract for leasing them some antenna space for their system. So
Oh, really?
Very nice.
Okay,
that's something we're gonna be working on.
Sure.
it's a good thing.
Did we ever hear back from? Was that last one?
Cell tower thing.
Was it Verizon?
Verizon?
No, haven't,
But we did send a message out. We did respond to them.
right?
So the ball's in their court,
Yep, that's good.
right?
That was
Making sure we're not
that was
holding
the
anything
weirdest
up.
thing ever.
They're actually, their stuff are out at least two to see if we fight on that.
Okay. Okay,
All right, no other new business? We can move to the superintendent report.
I still have one thing on there. Just the whole Penachuk special contract or the 3-year contract, the PUC hearing on the contract is tentatively set for the week of 3/20. We just don't have a date nailed down yet for that. Hopefully we do soon.
Is that, where is that held? Do we have Concord?
Street, I believe.
is it something we're concerned about or
No.
shouldn't, I mean, this is a normal business agreement between two water districts utilities, right?
We need to be up there to.
Right.
We have some testimony to.
Right.
to give and,
Is Underwood planning on attending that with you or,
no.
we're gonna go up?
Carrie is,
Oh, okay.
they're him and Ursula, Chuck, their attorney.
All right,
It's a formality.
That's a good idea.
good.
They've already sent us a bunch of questions that we've answered, so.
All right, that's good to know. I guess that's it. The only other thing is questions from the press and public. You don't have anything more on the superintendent report?
Nope, everything else was covered earlier.
Good. I had a bunch of notes here and I was gonna ask you to address them, but it looks like I think we already talked about all of them. So that's a good job.
Any more attendees?
No, but. Let's look up first.
All right. So seeing nobody on the Zoom anymore, nobody here, there's no questions, there's no public, there's no press. Next meeting is on March 20th. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I moved.
Seconded. Motion by Wolf, second by Paul. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thanks a lot. See you next month.